Moving forward, I want to talk about an issue which has been really confusing in Africa. And that's the issue of the Fethullah Gulen network. What your administration calls the FETO, Fethullah Terrorist Organization. For the longest time, many Africans thought that this network was sponsored or worked with the Turkish government, which explains why many elites, many leaders would send their children to the schools of the network around the continent. Now, since last year, we have all known what have happened. This is the first time you're talking to an Africa audience about this issue specifically. I want you, Mr. President, to tell the African people if it is today safe for me to send my children or my nieces or my nephew to the schools which are now being run by another organization.
My dear brother Amadou, without any further ado, I'd like to immediately mention one thing. Neither your nephews, nieces, nor your children, do not send them to either one of this network's schools. Education is just a great disguise for these people working for the network. Even religion is a great form of disguise for the Fethullahists. In the Quran's verse, Ma'un, Allah condemns those who are using prayers as a disguise, as they will never be conscientious about the practice of prostration and prayer. That's why we will remain alert. We will never be manipulated. On July the 15th, the coup plotters were the Fethullahists. They have all been identified as perpetrators. Most of them have been sentenced to aggravated lifetime imprisonment. Some of them were sentenced to lifetime imprisonment. Some of them were sentenced to serve 20 years, 30 years, or 40 years in prison. These Fethullahists came to kill me and my family members, but Allah protected us. And in a matter of minutes, we were saved from their bombs, from their attacks. But two of my security guards have fallen, unfortunately, as a result of their attacks. They were martyred. 259 people have fallen as martyrs. 2,392 people have become veterans. There are 29 martyrs around this presidential complex, which was attacked that night as well. This complex, you see, is a complex of martyrs crowned by a crescent and a star. That is a monument crowning their memory so that we will never forget. When all of these developments were underway, and when the Turkish judiciary is very busy with these cases, we are warning our brothers and sisters in Africa not to be manipulated, not to be deceived, because the Fethullahists earned great sums of money out of their actions. In 1999, the chief terrorist, Gulen himself, fled to the United States to live in Pennsylvania. We have demanded his extradition immediately. We have amassed 85 or 90 boxes filled with evidence and documents proving that he was the main perpetrator behind this plotted coup. But he had not been extradited yet. And if tomorrow the United States asks for the extradition of terrorists, I will say no to them. Similarly, why? Because this man is the killer of 252 martyrs, 2,192 veterans still residing in the United States. The evidence had been amassed. There are judicial sentences to send him away for 40 years, 50 years, or even more. But he's still not being extradited. He needs to be extradited, and he needs to be judged and prosecuted. There's no capital punishment in Turkey, but there's capital punishment in the United States. He should be extradited to Turkey, and he should be tried and prosecuted and sentenced in Turkey. We have established the Maarif Education Foundation just for that. My brothers and sisters in Africa, do not be manipulated, do not be played, because the Turkish Maarif Foundation will provide your children with better education, and you will not be deceived. In Sudan, for example, we have cooperated with the National Education Ministry, and we are taking over the schools that used to belong to this network. In Chad, in Tunisia, the same thing. We have cooperated with their education ministries, and we are going to work with them. But some Fethullahists are finding a different disguise, finding different identities to manipulate the government echelons or the high echelons once again. They can lie in any way and in every way. Africa should no longer be plagued by these people. If there's anything, please do come back and ask us, and we will give you all the satisfactory answers as to what this network is capable of. And through our embassies, please get the right information so that our unity and our togetherness will precede anything and everything else. We are looking forward to forging the solidarity.
That's a very clear answer to this situation, which has really been traumatizing to many families, because education is key. Mr. President, I know your team is telling me our time is almost over, but I have a couple of questions to ask you, because these are very important issues I want us to touch on really briefly. First, you've seen what's happening in Libya. Recently, with the meltdown in Libya,